I would just stay out of my bedroom, okay? I still haven't recovered. Okay, so anyway, we're up to a new Mishnah Tzadik Hey Yom and Aleph, very geschmack. The difference between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. Ma bein Pesach Rishon Sheni. What's the difference between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni? Right, is that Rishon also b'bal yirah b'yimatzah. There's an issue to have chametz in your jurisdiction. Sheni chametz matzah imoy b'bayis. The Sheni you have chametz and matzah together in the house. Harishon tayin halal. The Rishon requires halal, meaning at the seder when you speak you say halal. The b'achilasoi Rishon tayin abich when you eat it with the korban Pesach. Sheni and tayin halal b'achilas when you don't eat it. However, zev is tayin halal b'asiyasan. When you do go ahead and shech them and do them, you sing Hallel. Remember, we had the parak that there was 3 groups. They went in and they said Hallel, and they the third group didn't have a chance to reclaim it as a Hallel. But there's Indian of saying Hallel b'shas you do the mitzvahs. The nechol and sli, they're both eating roasted. Matzah royim, they both eat with matzah and maror. The doichen es Shabbos, and they both doich Shabbos. Even Pesach Sheni is doich es Shabbos. Okay, so it's important. If you have a chumash where you have with you should know by now know the whole meaning of Pesach Sheni. Yeah. There's one over here. Pesach Sheni. If you have a article, you might have psukim. So it's in Bamidbar Test. Bamidbar Test. So let's see some of the psukim that we're going to see this evening. Bamidbar Test. Yeah. What page are you on? 780. What? 780. So you should do the second month. You should make it your dalet iyar al matzahs umron mechluhu. You should eat it matzah and maror. So it says explicitly you should eat it matzah and maror. Again, we're in Perik Tes pasuk yud, and then it says pasuk yud aleph lo yashiru yimenu ad boiker. Do not leave anything over till the morning. This is enough nicer by Pesach Sheni. The etzem lo yishbru boy, and the din of shviras etzem also applies. And then if it says these 3 pratim guys, if it says the prat of chametz, if it says the prat of noitzer, and if it says the prat of bones, breaking bones, what does it say? A klal, like all the laws of Pesach Rishon you do. So that's the stress of the evening, the cooking, right? You have 3 pratim. We have 3 pratim, and then we have the klal, the prat. We have the prat of matzah maror. We have the prat of lo yashimon ad boiker, and we have the prat of etzem yishbru boy. And then it says kechol chukas Pesach. So it's very funny. Like so that's going to be the thrust of limudim, how we learn out things. So again, let's get it clearly. Again, if you had a chumash, that would be great because you won't be lazy, and if not, you're just lazy. And then it says matzah maror. Then it says nicer, and then it says etzem, and then it says kechol chukas Pesach. Then you have a klal after all of them. Tanabanan, kechol chukas Pesach yasu isai. Like all the chukas of Pesach, you should do the korban sheni. The mitzvah shebegufay. The mitzvah shebegufay, meaning inherently in the korban itself. Hakos medaber. When it says kechol chukas Pesach isai, it means not every halacha of Pesach, but every halacha that's intrinsic to the korban Pesach, right? Yachal afilu mitzvahs shaloi al gufay. I might think, let's say mitzvahs shaloi al gufay. For example, the removal of chametz, right? That's the din by Pesach Rishon, but it's not totally in the korban Pesach. Talmud Laimar, it says the etzim lo yishbru boy. It says in the pasuk, and a bone they should not break from it. Mashvir as etzim miyuchid mitzvah shebegufay. Just like the breaking of the bone is something unique to inherently the korban itself, Af kol mitzvah sheba gufay. So too any mitzvah sheba gufay, as opposed to ashvash sa'ar, which is with nothing whatsoever to do with the Pesach itself.
It's a little complicated. You have one guy in the house that have comments, more you're not having comments. And if I only applies to the guy bringing the Pesach, but the second it'll be a little complicated.
Yeah, it's like second day Pesach in Eretz Yisrael. Right. My kids reading falafel, and I'm going. Meaning matzah. Okay. Anyway, Isi ben Yehuda Aimer. Isi ben Yehuda says you don't need the pasuk of like etzem layishbru of etzem layishbru boy, but it says yasu oisoi. It says you should do it. What does it mean? The mitzvah sheba gufay custom medaber. So Isi ben Yehuda learns out the same thing, but from a different source. He doesn't use the pasuk etzem layishbru boy. He learns it from the words that it says oisoi. He learns the word that it says oisoi. Amamar. Going back over the Brayso. So Amamar. Yachol af mitzvah shaloi al gufoi. I might think a mitzvah that's not on the guf. But guys, it made no sense. Ha'amrit, you just said in the first sentence, the mitzvah sheba gufoi custom medaber. Guys, you started off with a statement. Right? I'd start off with a statement. I would say, right, the only mitzvahs that's important is the mitzvah of going to shul on Shabbos. So I might think, but it's another mitzvah that's not in shul on Shabbos. Why would you think that? I just made a statement. It's a mitzvah going to shul on Shabbos. You just made a statement that the mitzvah is what? In the Pesach itself. In the same breath, you said, I might think it's a mitzvah that has nothing to do with it, like chametz. Why would you think that? You just told me it's a mitzvah in the Korban Pesach itself, right? So if you said that statement, the whole mitzvah Pesach yasu oisoi, why in the world would I think otherwise? That's the Gemara's kasha. So I'm amar yachalaf mitzvah shloi al gufay. I might think even a mitzvah shloi al gufay like what? Removing sar. 1 second. Mitzvah sheba gufay custom medaber. You just told me you're only speaking about the Korban Pesach itself. Says Mahochi Kamai. Here's what it meant. Hashta the Amid al matzah royim yafluhu alma yasu oisoi abdafka. Guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. Progressively. When you said kechol chukas haPesach yasu oisoi, I would have thought it meant only things that have to do with the Korban Pesach. Broiling it, not breaking a bone of it, not halfway baked, right? No, it's got to be what? Just the Korban Pesach itself. Good? Then what did you introduce? You said, however, Matzah Samara needs. So Matzah Samara is not part of the Korban Pesach. It's part of the mitzvah together, but it's not the Korban itself. So now, once you told me you're leaving the Korban to go to Matzah Maror, maybe you're leaving the chametz. Once you left once you left it itself, leave a little more. That's the flow of the Gemara. That's the flow of the Gemara. Once you told me that it's a Matzah Maror, so guys, go back to the beginning where the Gemara begins. Yaakov, you're not going to win. You think your way, he's doing good. Says the Gemara. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I know, but you're only one. So watch. Go back where it says Gemara. Watch where it says Gemara. The mitzvahs right? Good. Mitzvah shal gufa minayin. How do you know what? That you don't have mitzvahs al gufa on. How do you know that what? Mitzvahs al gufa, that meaning like something that is not the Korban Pesach itself. So you know what you said? You just look, you went 1, 2, 3. You started off with the Gufa Pesach itself. Then you went to Matzah Mora, which is mitzvah al gufay, and now you want to go to mitzvah shaloi al gufay, right? Why would you go to number 3? Only because you went to number 2.
Yeah, but number 2 fits in.
Only because it's done at the same time. Okay, so you and him on the same page.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what was bothering me.
Yeah, he thinks it's a
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. You think it's a good thing, right?
No, it's okay. No, no, I'm not going to. Let's explain. There's the mitzvah that's in the essence of the Pesach itself. There's a mitzvah that is in conjunction with the Pesach, but not the Pesach itself. Then there's a mitzvah that is associated with the Pesach. Good? So watch. Mitzvah al gufay would be sliesh, breaking a bone. That's inherently the Pesach. Good? If I would have stopped right there, I wouldn't have a half a minute about chametz. Zero half a minute about chametz. Why? Because you just told me it's only there. Good. Now, I might think that the carbon Pesach Sheni does not need matzah either. Why? Because it's not the Pesach itself. So good is a mitzvah of matzah that you do at the time of the carbon Pesach, but it is not the carbon Pesach. You can see a difference between broiling the thing itself and an ancillary mitzvah associated with it. So the mitzvah then it goes one step further and says, you know what? Once you associate it, maybe I'll go to chametz too. We don't go to chametz. We only stop at level number 2. We only stop at that.
So when you say malacha too, maybe don't do malacha the whole thing.
What does malacha have to do with matzah?
No, just you what's the chametz, but not to make it a whole.
You can't. Why can't you see a difference between matzah and?
Because the chametz is nothing to do with the
matzah has nothing to do with Korban Pesach.
Matzah does, not the chametz.
Exactly. So I was saying,
Matzah
but again, once you're telling me that it has that in common, right? And then when you have that in common, then it says kachol chukas Pesach. So it's a chukah de Pesach not to eat chametz. Malacha is not a good for the Pesach. It's a din of Pesach.
We're making another Pesach.
But it doesn't say that. Chametz has to do with Pesach. Like sisper chametz tam zivki. You can't shechi korban when the chametz is around. So it has what to do with the Pesach.
Because it's trying to tell you, the Yontif is beginning. It's the beginning of the Pesach thing. So get rid of the chametz, not to have that. You should have mixed it up.
I didn't say that. I said there's a mitzvah like sishret al chametz tam zivki. So so very good. So what? So what am I telling you? I'm telling you we're going weiter. Says the Gemara. I'm telling you we're going weiter. Okay, says the Gemara. Now that you told me al matzah when you eat it, alma, what do you see? Yasoy soy lav dafka. You see that when you said tasoy soy, it doesn't mean dafka the carbon Pesach itself. So have I mean I would think that alma yasoy lav dafka who ema havile kiprad with klal. I would say it's like a prat that you shouldn't that what matzah royim uklal kefol chukas Pesach. Nasa klal meisav ala prat, and the klal comes to go ahead and get on to the prat. Afilu kol mili nami, everything as well. That should be also. Kamash Malon, that what the pasuk of that the etzem yishbroi boy or Isi ben Yehuda Yaso say dafka carbon Pesach or an associate with the carbon Pesach. It says the Gemara. Isi ben Yehuda said, I don't need the pasuk of the etzem yishbroi to tell me this halacha of an associate. I learned that from Yasu Oisai, from the word Oisai. So the Gemara asks right away, Hay etzem ayavadle. What does he do with the word etzem? What does he do with that pasuk? In other words, there's a prat there. What does he do with that prat? He needs it that the din of shvius etzem applies not only to a bone that contains marrow, it even applies to a bone that does not contain marrow. The Rabbanon, what do they do with the Yasur Soy? Since they use it from etzem like sishbru boy, what do they darshan? You don't shech the Pesach Sheni ala yachid. So you might think that listen, Pesach Sheni is for guys tamei, correct? So you might think, you want a bunch of tameim? So it says you should try to get tameim. As much as you can go ahead and do, you do. Okay, turn around, new brayso. The pasuk says, and now again, and then what do we have, guys? We have 3 pratim. We have what? The matzah, we have nicer, and we have etzem. Good. We have all those 3 things. I might think, I might think just like the first one is asa b'bal yirah b'al yematzeh, right? Kach sheni asa b'al yirah b'al yematzeh. Therefore, it says al matzah sum roim echluhu. It says that you only eat matzah mara, and you're not knowing what the din of b'al yirah b'al yematzeh. Mainly ela matzah mitzvah say, similar to what eating matzah or the mitzvah of chametz, not having chametz. Mitzvahs lo yisaseh minayin. How do you know mitzvahs lo yisaseh? Tamalema lo yishiru menu ad baiker. I don't leave over till the morning. V'ain ela mitzvahs lo yisaseh shnita klaseh. Nice is a lavanita, guys. Leave it over in the morning, you burn it, right? Mitzvahs lo yisaseh gomer minayin. Tamalema v'etzem lo yishbu boy. Ma prat mefurish mitzvahs say. Just like the prat is mefurish mitzvahs say when it said what? It said the din of matzumara, which is the mitzvah say, and it said what nicer, which is lavanitak. V'loisase gomer, and it said the lava of madav etzmei shbiraboy. Av kol mitzvah essay, v'loisase shnit lasei, v'loisase gomer. Okay, now, so what the Gemara just did the following. Okay, if you have a phone, you might want to zoom in. I made a chart, but of course, I forgot to copy it. Okay, so if you zoom in on your phone, you'll have a nice chart. Steve is not to be found. Okay, if you look, it's on the screen. If you zoom in, you get the screen. Now, the Gemara is going to say the following. You have three pratim, right? You have three pratim. You have working that way backwards. You have etzim, you have noiser, and you have matzah. Those three. Good. Matzah is a mitzvah's essay. Good. You have after it says afterwards. Okay, we're getting people on here. Is she? Okay. Anyway, so you have those three setups. Because now watch. It must be when you have a klali afterwards. It means it must be include something similar to it and exclude something similar to it, right? So, for example, matzah is the mitzvah's essay. What does it include? That the korban pesach sheni has to be broiled like the korban pesach rishon. It's a mitzvah's essay to broil the pesach rishon. It's a mitzvah's essay to broil the pesach sheni. Good. That's what you learn out from the cloud that is onto the matzah morah. What does it exclude? Right? What does it exclude? The removal of sa'ar. It's a mitzvah's essay to remove chametz. So it's similar to matzah morah. It's a mitzvah's essay that you broil it, but excluded from that is something that's not part of the mitzvah at all, which is the removal of chametz. So therefore, pesach sheni, you cannot have chametz around. So you have the mitzvah's essay wad of broiling, and you have the mitzvah's essay wad of removing chametz. The next thing was the mitzvah of noiser, guys. What is noiser? It's a lav hanitak lasei. You steal something, return it, corrects it. You leave something over, you burn it. So, and then, right, we said according to one opinion of Hani ben Akasha, you don't bring the Pesach Rishon, you bring the Pesach Sheni, right? It was lav hanitak. It's such a concept. So now, what's the lav hanitak of similarly that Pesach Sheni is you can't take it out, but if you take it out, you bring it back. This is the opinion that if you bring it back, it's okay. We learned the Gemara where you took it out, it's puzzle. According to this one, you bring it out, you can bring it back. So you may not take the lav. What did you do wrong? You took it out. How do you correct it? You bring it back. And that's similar to what? Noiser. Because Noiser also, what did you do? You left it over. How did you correct it? You burnt it. Yeah? So therefore, that would be included by Pesach Sheni. There's inclusion in the lav of Leisaitzi taking it out. What would it be? What would the Lo Yiroy, Lo Yimot say, right? You can have any rishus. What happens if you have any rishus? You get rid of it. So that's excluded. That's not part of Pesach Sheni. So you understand what we're doing over here, right? We're learning an essay that's similar to an essay, similar to Lavanit. Let's say, what's the similarity to Etzim breaking the bone, which is a lav, right? Is no. You can't eat from it half broiled. It has to be fully broiled. It can't be half broiled, right? That would apply to Pesach Sheni too. What doesn't apply? Like you can't shecht it when there's chametz around. Pesach Sheni, you could shecht it when there's chametz around. So you included all three levels: the asay, the loisas lavanitak, and the loisasay. Good. Let's see it inside. Okay, I'm leaving the chart up there, guys, and we'll see it inside now. Huh? You say okay. Yaakov sent it. If anyone's interested, yeah, well, they can see it on the Zoom, but if anyone has WhatsApp, thank you. Okay, so now, the chlala demasas morim maikom arbe. We're about 10 lines up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 exactly. The chlala, the klal demasas morim maikom arbe. What do you include? Sliesh. That includes why? Because that's similar to mitzvah's essay. The prata mayit, and what do you exclude with the prat? Is hashvasa sa'ar, the removal of sa'ar, the removal of leaven. That's the exclusion. It's not by Pesach Sheni, doesn't exist. Says the Gemara, why don't we say the opposite? That hashvasa sa'ar does exist and sliesh doesn't exist. Mitzvah de gufa adif. Mitzvah the gufa that's similar to the carbon mitzvah Pesach Sheni, that it's a mitzvah that's in the carbon, intrinsically in the carbon itself, is more powerful than what than an ancillary outside like chametz. Bechlala de la yashir imenu at baikim my kamar balei, like sites imenu. You shouldn't take it out. The pratel my kamar lei. What are you mamai with the prat? La yirov la yimatze. Again, what do they have in common, guys? They're all lavanitak according to this brisa. Like sightsee, don't take it out. If you take it out, what do? Bring it back. What about lo yirov la yimatze? You shouldn't have it in your rishus. What happens if you have it in your rishus? You destroy it. So it's similar to nicer where you burn it after you. It's a big schmack, right? Next thing, the last thing is what? Fed the same kasha, epechana, mitzvah the gufa adif, it's still better than mitzvah the gufa. Etzem le yeshiru by amid beis, the etzem le yeshiru by my marbe, what does it come to include? It says, menu na, you shouldn't come to eat from it half baked, half royal. The pratel my kamamayit, le sishra adam zevchi, the same question, epechana, that's the opposite. It says, no, mitzvah the gufa adif, and therefore the chart is self-explanatory. One's an asay, one's a loy lavanitaka, and one is a loy. Is a loy sase. Is in anyway, is loy sase. Okay, says the Gemara. Now the Mishnah said the Rishon, you have the shas, you eat it, you say halal, right? We say halal by the seder. We ate the carbon pesach by the seder. Mashen came pesach sheni. There's no din wad of amiras halal. What? There's no din amiras halal. Hashir yi alochem kalel hiskadesh chag. The shir should be lachem for you. Kilel hiskadesh chag. Leila hamukdash lachag. The leil that's mukdash lachag toyin halal. Laila shein mukdash lachag ain't toyin halal. So the yutesvav, which is mukdash lachag, needs halal. The yutesvav iyar, according to most opinions, is not mukdash lachag, and therefore it does not need halal. Very geshmach gemara. Very geshmach. Zevazin toyin halal basiya. They need halal at the time of you did it my timer. Ibayis ema laila kamemayit yoim lo kamemayit. We're mayit halal only at night, not during the day. So during the day when you made it, you do say it. Ibayis ema efshi yisol shaychnas b'schayim v'noyim l'sloveim v'noyim halal. Is it possible you're doing mitzvahs? You shech your carbon, you take your lulav, and you don't say halal? Of course, you say halal. Look at Rashi, beautiful Rashi, guys. Laila next. Avayoyim shoes. Where's Rashi? Where's that? Where's that Rashi? What? No, I'm looking for the Rashi. Rashi says simply that when you do a mitzvah, you say halal. Where do you have it? Oh, it's down there. Okay. Efshar the kivin the divine mitzvah who toyin halal. Since it's divine mitzvah, you need halal. The divine mitzvah needs halal. You praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu for the mitzvah. Okay. V'nacholin sli, and it's doicha Shabbos. We said that the Pesach Sheni is also doicha Shabbos. If you dalid iyar falls out on Shabbos, you would bring the carbon Pesach Sheni. Shabbos in tumaloi. Shabbos it's doicha Shabbos, but it's not doicha tuma. In other words, if you tell me Pesach Sheni, you don't bring it. It says Masisin like Rabbi Yehuda, the Tanya doicha a Shabbos, make doicha a tuma. You don't have doicha tuma. It even be doicha tuma. My time in Tanakama. What's the reason it's not doicha? They tuma the chiyasab. Yachsav tuma. The whole reason you bring it in the first place is tuma. So the could be doicha tuma, so you don't bring it. You that a Torah chazra love lasoisa b'tayra. The Torah goes ahead and says no. Go back and do it b'tayra. Lo zacha yasab tuma. If you're not zacha, you do it b'tuma.
The shlichus also apply on the Pesach Sheni. I could point somebody to do the shech.
You could always point someone to shech, but I get. I would think so. Rabbi Yehuda, Torah chazra lavas b'tayra. Torah tells you to do it b'tayra, right? That's what it wants. You should be taught when you bring it. Lo zacha. If you're not zocha to be tahar, yaseh b'tumah, then you do it b'tumah. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's Rabbi Yehuda. According to Tanakama, you lose it. That's it. You're gone. In other words, no Pesach Shlishi. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you bring the second. You bring it in, right? That's what it means.
When the beam was second halal, right? They said, you saw by Mordechai, they said that they said Loganu, and by Mordechai they said Loganu, right?
Einorim halal al Nes shebe golus.
Right, that should be gone. Right, but if they hacking their work, if Pesach Sheni was that hacking their work, was that Pesach Sheni? I know, but because it is for the people.
I guess the Pesach Sheni has the same thing as Pesach Rishon. So I'm saying, you're saying halal kechol mitzvahs of Pesach last. So you don't have to be metakin it. It's before Shapasik.
But I'm saying, but for the Pesach Sheni.
What do you
We
mean?
say that we're not. If we're saying that we don't say halal, so I know what.
You don't say halal when you eat it, but you say halal when you.
Right.
But when you do it, you perform it. You say halal. That's what they're speaking about. Yeah, when you do it. All right, so, Tan Rabbanon, Pesach Rishon Doiches Shabbos, Pesach Sheni Doiches Shabbos. That's what we said. Pesach Rishon Doiches Tumah, Pesach Sheni Doiches Tumah. That's according to Yehuda. Pesach Rishon Toyin Lina, you have to stay over. Pesach Sheni Toyin Lina, right? Amamar Doiches Tumah Kiman. When it says it's Doiches Tumah, right? Rabbi Yehuda, like we said, like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Toyin Lina, and Rabbi Yehuda says Lina that you have to stay over. But Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Oimim Minayin Pesach Sheni Sheni Toyin Lina. You don't need Lina Shnemar. You'll turn in the morning and go to your tents. Something that's eaten for 6 days. 6 days is lina. So you see that you don't need lina. So how can you say you do? It says I'm going to trade tanoia. I'll leave it to Yehuda. I have a price that says it's brought betuma and that it needs lina, right? And now you just told me that. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't need lina, but you tell me Rabbi Yehuda is the Tana of the Brisa. He's the Tana of the Brisa because he's the only one who says you bring a petuma. So if he agrees with clause A, he must agree with clause B. But we have a problem. Clause B slices himself. And when he answers on that, it's two Tanoim in the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. The first Brisa says he does need lina to stay over, and the second one says no, he doesn't need lina to stay over. Says the Mishnah, HaPesach sheba betuma, a Pesach that's brought betuma, lo yochel mimenu. Now, this is going on Pesach Rishon, guys. This is going on Pesach Rishon. So Pesach ba betuma, lo yochel mimenu zavim v'zavos nidos v'yoldos. They can't eat from it. In other words, who's the only one who can eat from it? That was what? Tamei Meis. Tamei Meis, right? They would go, all these would go ahead and send to Pesach Sheni. So you might think, since it's hutra, it's bought betuma, they can go ahead and be part of it. No. However, if they do eat it, if they do eat it, they're part from karis. They won't get karis. Usually, if you eat kachim betuma, you get karis. Over here, they would not. He says another chiddush. All these people, zavim, zavai, zavim, they can't go into the machne shchina. They can't go to the machne. Some can't go to machne levia. So l'chayra, even going there into the azara to bring the korban pesach, they'd be part from karis. Forget about eating it, even going in. Good? That's Rabbi Eliezer Shita. So what's the reason for these two dinim? What's the reason that if they eat it, the tumah, they don't get karis? What's the reason for Rabbi Eliezer? Tan Rabban. Zavim v'zavos, nidos v'yoldos, sha'achlu b'pesach sheba b'tumah, that they eat a pesach that was brought b'tumah. Again, tumah is hutra, tumah was brought, that was roiva v'tziv, was tamei tumas meis. Yachlu yechayavim, I might think they're chayev karis, Talmud Leimar. The pasuk says, now we're going to look at Vayikru Yates and Vayikru Chaf. Vayikru Yates Perek Zayin, Vayikru Zayin. You have a chumash, pasuk Yates and pasuk Chaf. It says in pasuk Yates, Va'abasa and the meat asher yiga b'chol tamei, that touches anything that's tamei, so the meat is tamei. Lo yachol, you should not eat it. Be'eshi sarif. So if you're a tahar and you eat tamei to touch him, it's a lav. Don't eat it. V'habasa kol tahar, yachal basar. V'habasa, that's tahar. Anyone who's tahar should eat basa, right? Anyone who's tahar should eat basa. V'hanefesh asher toichel basar k'misev hashlam hashel Hashem t'masei lav. But if you eat basar when you are tamei, then the nichvasa nefeshi me'amecha, you'll get kares. You'll get kares. Now, the Gemara is going to make a tzushtel between when Taradika people eat, then you chayav kares. When Taradika people eat, you're not chayav kares. In other words, we have a relationship. One pasuk says Taradika people should eat it. The next pasuk says, and if you're not tahar, you will get what? Kares, if you eat it. Says the Gemara, when do you get kares when you eat it? That's only when a person who's tahar eats it. But over here, where all the people are tamei because of tumas meis, Therefore, it's not the second part of the pasuk with the Zavim, even though the Tamei, it doesn't engage them in Karis. That's the limit. The Tamei Mace is why they could eat it in the first place. So here we're saying they're not allowed to eat it, but if they do eat it, then it's not the Nichrusa Nefesh Ahi. When does the pasuk Ari of a Nichrusa Nefesh Ahi apply? Only when everyone's eating it B'Taira. But over here, when they're coming to Mitzvah and they're eating it B'Tumma, then the pasuk about the Nichrusa doesn't apply. That's the limit. Says the Gemara inside. Okay. Kol Tor Yochel Basar. It says anyone who's Tor Shti Basar. Then it says V'Nefesh Asher Toichel Basar Mizebach Hashlom Mashallah Hashem B'Tumasa Olav V'Nichrusa. Nechal Tahirim Chayav Olav Mishum Tamei. When it's eaten by Taharim, then you chayav for being tamei. When it's not eaten by Taharim because they tamei to mismace, ain't tamei chayav malav. And the zav is the ledas are not chayav malav. Mishum tamei. How we doing, guys? Good. It's geschmack. Get a limud. Now, Rabbi Eliezer said what? Even as far as going into the base of Migdash. Rabbi Eliezer oimer yachol dachkai zavim v'nichnasu la'azara b'Pesach haba b'tumah. So now, guys, Pesach's bought b'tumah. Who's in the azara? Tamei Mason, right? Tamei Mason, they're only Azara. They're bringing the car, right? Now, what about the Zavim force their way in? If they force their way into that Zara, that means they're in the Beis Hamikdash proper. Machna Shechina. I might think what? It says v'yishalchu min hamachne. You should send out of the machne the very similar limud called tzurua any mitzora, the chol zav any zav, the chol tamei lenefesh, and anyone who's tamei to mismace. 1 second, guys. You just said 3 things: mitzora, zav, tamei mace. What's the limud? Bisman shet tamei mace mishtalachim. When the tamei mace is sent out, zavim mitzurayim mishtalachim. Then the other 2 guys, the mitzora and the zav, are also sent out. Ain't tamei mace mishtalachim, but when the tamei mace is not mishtalachim because he's able to bring the carbon base of mitzvah, ain't zav mitzurayim mishtalachim. So it won't be chayiv. Yeah, very nice. We're all 3 together, right? Who's sent out? Surua, zav, tamei mace. Since number 3 is in the ballpark, 2 and 1. The Eved, if they go in, are in the ballpark. They won't be chayiv. Okay, boy, Rabbi Yosef, 2 shaynas. Doch tu tamei mesim, v'nichnasu leheichel b'Pesach. Guys, picture the Beis Hamikdash. You go into Shayniknar. On the left side, you see the mizbeach, and on the right side, you see the hooks and the places. And straight ahead is the heichel. Straight ahead is the heichel, which contained the mizbeach hazav and the menorah and the shulchan, right? And behind that was the Kodesh Kodashim, which contains the aron. You just told me, like Rabbi Eliezer, that the Zavim, like the Tamei Mason, are permitted in the Tamei Mason. They're permitted in the Azara, right? What happens when they end up in the Heichel? Do we say once they matted them to go in, they got a complete waiver? Or do we say what they matted them level 1, but level 2 they never permitted, right?
Why is it any different than Bayezid? But not the Shechina, not the different levels of Tumah.
Again, because the whole reason the het of that Zara was Shchitas Pesach has to be in that Zara. The Heichel Teisa, you have a right to go in with no purpose. No reason for you to go into the Heichel. No reason. It has a din of Machna Shechina, you're right, but there's no reason for you to go in there. What they matter. Remember, this is Tumah is Dochka B'tziba, not Hutra B'tziba. This is Tumah is, B'di'evet. There's no heter for Tumah. Whatever you matter, you. Or you can declare, that would be good for Machloik, the Shaila. If you say Tumah is Hutra, then they can go into the Heichel too. If you say Tumah is Hutra, they'd only be limited to what? They're limited to.
It's a high level of kedusha. As you go into the Heichel, it's a high level of kedusha.
Again, it's Machna Shechina. It's all Machna Shechina. Again, Yisrael is never allowed into the Heichel ever. Yisrael is never allowed being Ulam Mizbeach because you have a heter to go in. Says to him, boy, Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef is the following shayla. Dachu tamei mesim. They push. It's crowded. V'nichlasu leheichel. Then they pushed it. It's a b'diavad. It's not lechatchila. Dachik and they ended up there. Pesach mahu Pesach b'tumah mahu mid the ishtri tumas azora ishtri nami tumas heichel. They won't be chayav karis. Dilma, my de ishtri, whatever they permitted. Umay de lo ishtri, what they didn't permit, lo ishtri. Amarava chumra, Amarava makra, yichalchum min hamachne, and you send them out min hamachne. You guys know what min means? I feel a part. I feel a mixus machne, meaning even if you're sending them out partially of the machne from the heichel, guys, do the heichel and the azara as what as machne shchina. So it says, "V'yishalchu mina machne." Afilu mixes of the machne, even part of machne shechina, you're sent out. And that's what heichel. So like this, if they go into the heichel, they be chayiv kares. According to this, according to the second lashon we'll see right now, it's a kula. Ikad the army. There are those who say Omar Rava, Omar Kra, v'yishalchem in a machne el michutz lamachne, tishalchem, and you should send them from the machne to michutz lamachne. You should send them. When I say chutz lamachna, you should send them. Meaning outside the azara. When I say you should send them outside the azara, karina bay, then I'll say v'yishalchem in amachna, send them away from the heichel. So according to this lashon, it's a kula. Since they're permitted to the azara, if by chance, happenstance, they end up pushed into the heichel, they would not be chayav kares. Very aggressive. Dachku tamei mesim, the achlu emuri pesach asim l'shayla. Tamei mesim. And they eat the murim of the Pesach, that haba b'tumah. So now, the murim was the chelet that goes to Hashem, right? The mitzvah not to eat it, and bekat that it's tamei. Mahu. Mid ishtri tumas basar, when they permitted to eat the korban Pesach, even though they're tamei, ishtri nami tumas murim. Dilma, my ishtri, mad lo ishtri, lo ishtri. The same shaila that we had regarding the shechita of the and location, so do we have regarding the achila. Amar Rav Michti. Tumas murim mehechis Rabbi. Where do you know Tumas Emurim from, guys? Tumas Besar. So this is Perek Zayin Pasachaf. Again, up Perek Zayin, Vayikra Zayin Pasachaf. What does it say? Listen to this. And the nefesh that eats basar, mizevach hashlamim from the korban shlamim, asher la Hashem. The words asher la Hashem, that is to Hashem. The korban shlamim, what does that mean? What is the word asher la Hashem? It means the chelik that goes to Hashem. The chelik that goes to Hashem we call Emurim, right? Oh, so now, where do you go ahead? Heicha is Rabbi Tumas Basar. Where do you learn Tumas Emurim? Heicha is Rabbi Tumas Basar. That pasuk is speaking about Tumas Basar. Ichsev Asher La Hashem. The Rabbi says Emurim, that you can't eat Emurim b'tumah. Kol Heicha Isu the Tumas Basar, Isu the Tumas Emurim. Where you have a halach of Tumas Basar, there's a din of Tumas Emurim. Kol Heicha the Lesla Tumas Basar, Lesla the Tumas Emurim. And therefore, if you ate the emurim, right, which is a halbut of eating the emurim, but al stuma, you would not be chayiv, right? You wouldn't be chayiv al stuma because you had a het of a tumah to eat the basa. When is there an issue of eating tumas of emurim? Only when there's an issue of tumas basa. When there's no issue of tumas basa, because over here tumah was chutcha, therefore it's permitted. Boy, not permitted, but you won't be chayiv. Boy, Reb Zera, imuri pesach mitzrayim, heichi akterinu. With guys in Mitzrayim, they brought the korban pesach, right? They didn't eat the fat. They didn't eat the kloyos. They didn't eat the kale. What did they do with it? Did they burn it? What did they do with it? Says the Gemara. Where did they burn it? Maybe they burnt it on a spit. Maybe they burnt it on the spit. But Hatana Rabbi Yosef Gimel Mizbechas Vayisham. There were three Mizbechas in Mitzrayim. You know what they were, guys? Al Amashkoif on the lintel, the Al Shtei Mezuzos and the two Zuzos. Guess what? So there was no place to burn it. They didn't burn it. That was the zrika, but there was no burn. But I don't know. They could have burnt it, but not on the mizbeach. They could have burnt it, but not on the mizbeach. Tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow, 8:30, Zoom only. Tomorrow, 8:30, I'll be saying Shir Bez Hashem Purim. There's a big union of learning, and we'll learn Bez Hashem. The show goes on. 8:30. We'll have virtual drinks.
What about Friday?
Friday, it'll be posted. I intend on maybe Thursday night. If I'm up late, it'll be there.
Huh?
It'll be there.
Okay. Thank you.
The show must go on.